Just play the damn thing.
So I'm going through and I'm packing up all my gear. Well, I'm not just packing up all my gear, I'm packing up everything I own because we're moving. But as I'm going through packing up my gear, I ran across some things and, things that I keep lying around, lying around handy, just so that they're handy because I use them often or it's one of those things that I never know when I'm going to use them, So I thought I would do a video here on, some guitar accessory items. I figured before I sign off for the next month or so here while I'm relocating, I thought I would shoot one last video about some, six really handy guitar accessory items that you should probably keep on hand. But, I tried to think outside the box a little bit on these types of things as opposed to, we all keep extra cables, extra strings, that sort of stuff handy. So this type of stuff isn't a list of your, typical guitar accessories that you're probably going to run out of and need to get eventually anyway. So anyway, hopefully this is a little bit more outside the box and might give you some ideas that you haven't previously thought of. Let's get to it. Number one is a guitar toolkit of some kind. This is the Ernie Ball variety. This one sells for, I think I saw it on Guitar Center's website today for about 40 bucks. And they're pretty handy, because they come right out of the box. They're going to come with just about everything that you see here. Matter of fact, they are. Yeah, the only thing that's in here that I've added externally is this file. But they come with your variety of Ernie Ball wipes. So you got your fretboard cleaner, your guitar polish, that kind of stuff. It's got a string winder in it, a precision little ruler, full Allen wrench set, screwdriver, wire cutters, and a polish cloth. So especially, if you're on the go at a gig or something and you need a quick string change, most of the tools you're going to need are going to be here in this kit. There's lots of different varieties out there. Like I said, this one's about 40 bucks, which is about the cheapest that I've seen here lately. You might be able to find something cheaper on Amazon for an off-brand of some kind. These are really, really handy. I keep it handy at home. I keep it handy, at gigs, studio sessions, all that kind of stuff, because you just never know when you're probably going to need an adjustment. This particular one I also really happen to like because if there's a few extra small things, such as a fret file, or additional Ernie Ball wipes, polish cloth, stuff like that, there's enough room in this little case that I can stuff it in there. And it will still fit in my bag just fine. Number two, you might consider this an extension of number one, but not really. Because, what this is a precision screwdriver set. So many adjustments and stuff on guitars are made with very, very fine increment screw adjustments and very, very small screws. Screws on guitar truss rod covers, for example, are notorious for getting stripped out with regular Phillips screwdriver like this because, quite frankly, this one's just it's just too big for a lot of them. I don't even use that one on truss rod covers anymore because it's too big, and I've stripped out plenty of screws because I didn't have a precision screwdriver set handy that's going to have a right size screwdriver to do what I needed to do. So truss rod covers, intonations, there's a lot of guitar adjustments. And guitars, by the way, are designed for players to be able to make these adjustments themselves. So there's a lot of adjustments that often need to be made that require a smaller screwdriver. So if you don't have this handy, you can pick this up. I bought this set on Amazon for like $7, and it's got, 10 different precision screwdrivers in it, I think. Yeah, 12, 11, something like that. A small precision screwdriver for pretty much anything guitar related that I'm ever going to need. And again, it's just a good addition. You can consider an addition to your regular toolkit, but even just having this on its own sometimes can make all the difference in the world. Number three, a good old-fashioned, not just a clip-on tuner, but this is a rechargeable clip-on tuners, and these are becoming more and more common out there these days. This particular one is one that Taylor just came out with. They call this one the Beacon, and you know it's I like this particular one because it's very easy to read. It's got really good, you know, I like the graphic screen on it. Again, very easy to read. It's got a lot of different modes on it, so I can use it for bass or, you know, whatever else I might be tuning. I might be needing to tune with it. Yeah, but most importantly, those little watch style batteries that work in like the snark tuners and things like that, those things tend to go out quite a bit. And if you don't have one of those handy, chances are I probably got a USB cable handy, either in a, you know, in a bag, or, you know, in my car someplace. I've always got USB cables for something in my car. You know, so if I'm out someplace, particularly if my pedal tuner goes out for whatever reason, you know, this is a really good backup to have. And you know, it's a, you know, again, very easily rechargeable via USB-C. A USB cable will work on this thing. And so far it's pretty sturdy. Rechargeable tuners are a little bit more expensive than your standard clip-on tuners. You know, like a standard snark, for example, it takes those little CR 2032 batteries. You know, these things tend to run about 20-30 bucks depending on which model you get. You know, and that's pretty common for clip-on tuners. The Peterson Strobo clip that I've talked about on my channel here before, also, you know, that one runs about 70 bucks or so. Rechargeable versions of these are going to cost you about an extra 10 bucks. So not a whole lot more money than what you're probably going to spend on, you know, on a clip-on tuner anyway. Might as well just get the rechargeable version. Number 4, a clip-on on-guitar pick holder. This particular one is a brand called Wedgies or something, but I think there's a brand on Amazon called, you know, Alice. I mean, the brand on these is insignificant. It doesn't make any difference. It's, you know, basically just a piece of rubber, and, you know, whichever, you know, Chinese Amazon company decides to put their logo on is what you get. But these are really handy to have, particularly if you're taking multiple guitars, if you use multiple guitars at a gig. You know, and they go on your guitar, pretty much any guitar out there, very easily. Put it right there between the strings, give it a twist, move it out of the way, and there you are. And you are attached. You got a couple of extra picks there right at your fingertips should you need one. You could probably even put a couple of them on here should you want to have 4 or 6 picks on there. You can get a 6-pack of these things on Amazon for like 7 bucks. You know, they're really inexpensive, particularly for live performance. If you're in a band where you move around a lot on stage, you gotta have a pick holder handy. This is a great option. You know, again, they're inexpensive and they're relatively inconspicuous, especially from a distance. You know, when we're playing gigs or studio sessions, generally everything seems to go the way that we expect it to go. But we've all been there. Sometimes the unexpected happens. Nobody can predict it. No, they just happen. These things, they just happen. So, for example, if you blow a preamp tube and, you know, or something happens to your pedal board, you know, something happens, you lost your gain stage, you know, in your gig. You know, I found it is a very good idea to keep a miniature-sized overdrive or distortion pedal handy in your bag. Should something happen and you need to be able to run a preamp of some kind straight to the soundboard, or, you know, or something like that. You know, you need dirt in your tone. Suddenly you don't have it like you thought you were going to. This is a good thing to have laying around. This particular pedal, this is the Tone City Golden Plexi. This is the version 2 that they came out with. I did a video comparing the two here just a few months ago. Tone-wise, they're exactly the same thing. This version has a more linear gain knob and more overall headroom. Those are the only things that they updated per user feedback on the original version. So, anyway, regardless, they sound the same. This is one of my favorite distortion pedals, actually. And, you know, like I said, if you need something in a pinch, you know, a $50, you know, miniature distortion pedal that that's easy to pack and easy to, you know, to keep in your bag, that's not going to take up a lot of space. Not a bad idea to have something like that handy. Speaking of pedals, number 6 is a rechargeable pedal power supply. Now, unfortunately, the one that I have is I've already packed up. I use one called the Pedal Juice from Sanyo, believe it or not, were the company that made that. You know, they're not really known for making guitar gear, but they did make that. You can probably still find those out there on the used market. That was probably the first one of these that I'm aware of, and I've had it for a long time. Unfortunately, it's already packed up. That said, it's discontinued now anyway, and there's lots of other newer, updated models out there to replace it, such as this here Mission Engineering model. You ever been at a gig or a studio session of some kind? Maybe it's outdoors. Maybe your access to power is limited. There's not an outlet nearby for you to plug in your pedal board. Maybe your power supply's IEC cable got stolen. I've lost count of how many cables I've had stolen at gigs. Who knows? Something like that. A rechargeable power supply for your pedal board can help alleviate all of these situations especially in a pinch. My current model, I actually use quite a bit here at home for recording purposes, mostly just because it is oftentimes it's just one more thing, one more cable that I got to run if I got to plug in a wall wart or something, just to power a couple of cables. This little rechargeable battery powered power supply will work just fine and save me from having to save me a cable and actually give me more flexibility as far as moving stuff around. The Mission Engineering model that I mentioned earlier is probably the most recommended one I can think of on this list. Right now it currently sells for $189, so it's by far the most expensive item on this list, and maybe even the most expensive one of these that's on the market right now, but it's also probably the one that's most available. Pedal Train also made one called the Volto, and they had several generations of that. My understanding, the last couple of years, they were having trouble procuring their lithium-ion batteries that they use to build them. So those are temporarily discontinued anyway, or on hold. But hopefully they'll be back on the market soon. There's also, I noticed, lots of other more inexpensive versions out there on Amazon. The $30, $40, $50 range. I can't attest to any of the quality on those, but again, for the purposes, especially as a backup power supply, if that's what you really need it for, probably not going to get burned too bad for $50 if you decide to pick up one of those. Pedal power supplies on Amazon, in my opinion, I've had okay luck with some of them, and I've found a lot of others to be really, really cheap. Cheap as in junk. To be honest, again, just my opinion. So if it were me, I would prefer to spend the money on the Mission Engineering model, but you may have better luck with the Amazon stuff than I have. And number 7, keep a sustainer handy. The most famous model of these are obviously the EBO that they'll sell for about $100. Very easy to find. This is the Joyo version of that. They just call it the Joyo Sustain. This one sells currently for about $55 or so on Amazon. Not very expensive. Not very expensive at all. These are really, really cool tools to have because the way they work, you turn them on and and then it's basically a giant magnet that reacts with your strings and your pickups and your guitar, and you can create some really, really cool sounds and really cool textures that just inspire a whole new world of things in any genre of music, really, that you might not have thought of otherwise just by strumming your regular riffs and and power chords and things like that. I constantly suffer from writer's block when I'm trying to come up with a cool new riff for a video or whatever it is that I'm working on, and I admit I don't reach for this as often as I should. But the times that I do reach for this, it always seems to come up with something that's just totally different from what I had been trying to do prior. That just wasn't unfortunately that just sounded like everything else that I had done lately. So a sustainer really, for me anyway, just helps me tap into another level of creativity that sometimes this hard-headed old noggin just can't get to on its own. So that's it. I hope you found this video somewhat informing and hopefully maybe have inspired some new ideas for all of you. For some of you anyway, I will post links down in the description for you to check some of this stuff out. Should you choose to do so. And also thank you for being patient with me while my life is currently being turned upside down. And I will promise I will be back to producing content for you as soon as possible. Adios.